Hello, my name is Thomas. Welcome to British Culture. Albion Never Dies. My very special guest this week is Mr. Philip Dewhurst, the founder and president of 007 GB, the British James Bond fan club, which keeps the British end up by raising money in support of UNICEF, the UN charity for every child, and they do this through, for example, charity screenings, the 007 films, member cocktail parties, and annual charity galas. You may have seen these pictures floating around online of some great events, and you can find more about it in the show notes. But first, before you click that, please do enjoy this episode with Philip Dewhurst.
Okay, Philip Dewhurst, thank you very, very much for joining me.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
For those who are not familiar with you, and should be, could you please give me a thumbnail sketch of who you are?
Sure. I'm the president of 007 GB, the British James Bond fan club. I'm a father, a businessman, and a huge James Bond fan.
Absolutely, and that's very, very clear. As I say, you are the president of this club. So perhaps you can tell me a bit about your love of James Bond.
It all started with my grandfather. I'm the eldest grandchild, and I would go to their house quite often. We only lived a few streets away in Accrington in Lancashire. And when I would go around, his passion was James Bond. He loved to watch the films. He loved to visit locations, although he never told anybody that that's what he was actually doing with his holidays. It's quite sneaky. That didn't come out until later life. I think it was myself that said to him, "Hang on a second. I've looked at the last 10 years of your holidays, Bond locations." And he would say, no, that's not where I'm going. Don't tell. And then eventually, towards the end of his life, he was like, "Yes, well, I didn't want to tell your grandmother because then she might say we couldn't go."
Oh, that's really interesting. What places was he secretly going to?
Well, it was all of them. Anything from Hong Kong, Thailand, San Francisco, Las Vegas. I mean, he's not even a gambler, but he, suspiciously went to Las Vegas and went to the Circus Hotel. I mean, come on. It really was. It was building up. Bahamas, Switzerland, and it wasn't that difficult to piece it together. That's perhaps he was on the tracks of 007, but he didn't collect autographs. He didn't even have the films on VHS. He recorded them from the television. Oh. And he didn't have posters or anything like that. He had an LP of the Bond themes, which he would play quite often, and he would record them from the television. And that's where my love came from. When I would go to visit him, I would sit and watch the films with him. And the first one that I watched with him, or the first one that I remember watching when I was maybe 5, was Man with the Golden Gun.
Oh, wow. Okay, which is, I'm sure we both agree, the best.
It's right up there for me. I really love the style of it. I don't understand why people don't have more love for that film. Yeah. Maybe it's if you're interested in like the old British Empire and Hong Kong, Macau, and the way those things come together. Maybe you just get it a little bit more than perhaps if you're from Europe or from America.
It is my favourite Roger Moore film, for sure, and it's always high up in my rankings.
Yeah, and I can't fault you for that, because I think he looks great in it. I think the costuming, the overall look of the film, the music, the villain is absolutely superb. The Bond girls are amazing. Yeah, I really, when more I think about it, the more I can't understand that it ranks down the bottom for so many people.
Yes. I mean, I really enjoy the locations. Obviously, I was out there, near Hong Kong for 6 years, and I believe you've just been in that neck of the woods.
Yes, we hadn't been back to Hong Kong since before COVID, and it was one of our favorite places. So we went back with the children. But what we did this time is we mixed in Singapore, that we hadn't been to, spent 4 or 5 days there, which was really, really nice, expensive, but really, really nice. And along the way, then we went to Thailand, to Phuket. We stayed on the island resort, just a 25-minute speedboat away from Scaramanga's Island.
What was it like?
We had to do that.
Yeah. So what was it like to go there?
it was surreal. I've been to many, many Bond locations across the world. I've been really fortunate to have done that. Some by happenstance and some because I've searched them out. But that was the one to me that meant so much because I had that connection to watching that film. That's the first memory of a Bond film that I have, and with my grandfather, who I was very close to. So to actually be there and it looked pretty much the same, it was amazing. And then to
Yeah.
turn over to my son and he's there and he's a huge Bond fan. He's 17 now and he was just as excited. And my daughter, she's a Bond fan, but only Roger Moore, really.
Oh,
She
that's
just,
interesting.
yeah, she doesn't really care for many of the others. She quite likes Pierce Brosnan, but Roger Moore is where it's at for her. And my wife's a huge Bond fan and is obviously the club secretary. So to have all four of us there, it was really special. It really was special. And it was beautiful. The people were lovely. And yeah, just an amazing location. Just an
That's
amazing location.
that's really good to hear. Thank you very much. And yes, I've met your son. He's a very bright young man. Very.
He is. He is. Takes after his mother.
Oh, so can you tell me a bit about your work with the James Bond fan club?
Sure. Yeah. So I've been attending events and been a member of the Swiss James Bond Club and the French James Bond Club and the German James Bond Club for many years because of a lack of a club here anymore. And I've become quite close friends with the French and the Swiss president, and Marcus, and we've been friends for over a decade. So I would get to see behind the curtain of what they were doing to build a club and to enjoy amongst themselves with their friends and for the greater fandom and whatnot. It's a lot of work, but it intrigued me, and I thought, maybe I could do this for the UK, because if there was a club here, I would join it. There wasn't one, so it was a case of either build it myself and crack on with it, or maybe there never would be another one.
Yeah.
So I put the call out there. I spoke to quite a few people in the Bond community, and I basically said, I need help. I cannot do this on my own. And quite a few people gave their feedback of what they thought the club should be and what we should do and whatnot. And then we got a board team together, which represents the whole cross section of the community, which is absolutely fantastic, because what you don't want to do with something like this is have just the way you want it.
Yeah.
That's only going to be attractive to your personality, and it's not going to be representative. You're not going to have as much fun because you're not going to discover things about the Bond fandom that you maybe never knew. So it was very important for me to have all and all different areas, people who like the clothes, people who like the watches, people who like the films, people who like Daniel, people who like Roger, etc., etc. And I think that's what we've done. And one of the main drivers for actually tipping me over the edge to create the club was the thought that we could do it for charity, that we could set this club up, we could all be volunteers, and that we could raise money through auctions, events, membership fees, and be able to donate that to a charity we chose to be our main charity, UNICEF. And already this year we've donated over £22,000 to UNICEF, which is more than double what we'd set ourselves as a target, and is quite frankly amazing.
It's very, very impressive. And that was Roger Moore's favoured charity. That's
right. He was an ambassador for UNICEF. So with Roger being my favourite Bond, it seemed like a logical choice. And they've been nothing but fantastic with the support, UNICEF. They've given us support all along the way. And I've said to people before, if at any point you are thinking about raising money for charity, please do get in touch with the charity, because you'd be surprised what help they can give you, guidance and support, even if it's just that encouraging email from them to say, we love what you're doing, keep up the good work. But the further you get with it, the more they can give you. And because I think the statistic is something like only 25% of what you think you're going to raise is what you actually raise at your first time events. That was the statistic that UNICEF gave me. So when we'd set a target of 10,000, they're thinking, maybe they'll come in with 2.5. They certainly weren't thinking we would come in with over 20,000.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely fantastic. But I can only thank the support of the members, the wider community, the brands that donated for the auctions. It really was great how everybody coalesced on this common goal. And now we're the largest bond club in the world at 481 members, which is in 8 months is nothing short of fantastic. I love it. It's brilliant.
That is wonderful. And you've even had input from, let's say, the James Bond professional community, right? So you've had John Glenn and some of the stars get involved.
Oh yeah, that's been another great side of it. I mean, I've known some of the Bond alumni from the older films for many, many years through attending the events of the other clubs and having a friendship with some of them or traveling the world with them. And so they were one of the first group of people that I called when I said I was going to do this and said, look, it's all very well and good me putting out there that there's going to be a club, but I need to make it exciting and I need your help. So could you come and do some volunteer work for us and help us along? And they've been nothing short of fantastic. I mean, when we look back at the Belfast event, we gave John Glenn his Lifetime Achievement Award from the club, which was long overdue and much deserved and much appreciated by John. But then we also had, I think, 15 or 16 other Bond girls, Bond alumni, Bond actors, stuntmen. And it was just fantastic with them all. I can't thank them all enough. And that support continues because they love the work that the club's doing and they love to spend time with the fans.
Absolutely. Yes. I was at the Comic-Con event where you were on stage with, I think, 6 of the Bond girls. And
yes, I think that was, yeah.
There was a lot of joy in that room.
Oh, definitely. And David Zaritsky did a great job hosting at the Comic-Con. I mean, we were both a little tired from the night before having done the HMS Belfast, but we persevered and we kept the British end up. Again, that was a great moment for some fans that maybe couldn't get to the HMS Belfast event because it was either sold out or the dates didn't work. But then the very next day, they were able to meet up with so many great Bond girls at the Comic-Con. And we also met a few other people though, didn't we? From things from Star Wars and from the greater film community. Good day. It was a good day.
That was a very good day.
It was a very good day.
No, that was incredible. And I said, you're always on it. You always seem to have something coming up.
That's right. Yeah. It's well, if you don't keep moving, life's not that interesting, I think. I like to keep moving, both in travel and in business and in my private life. And so having more than one event for the club in a year was an important thing as well, because you don't want to just see all your friends once a year, do you? You want to see them as many times as you can. So if I keep putting events out there from the club and the board support it and we all plan these great events together, that means we get to spend time with each other and with the rest of the club more times a year. And I'm all for that because we've got the Belfry event coming up in September, which is sold out. Where we've got Seth and we've got John Glenn and we've got a charity golf day. We've got luxury afternoon tea. We've got autograph sessions, photo ops, stage talks. It's almost like a mini convention, very small scale, London Film and Comic Con. And when I say small, I mean much, much smaller than an event that takes 30,000 people.
But still quite an event.
Yes. People can get up close and personal with some of the Bond stars that they may have watched for years and know and love, like Caroline Munro and Martine Beswick, Carol Ashby, John Glenn, for goodness sake. He had such a good time at the Belfast event that he's making the trip up from Henley-on-Thames to Birmingham to the Belfry. And he's actually going to, here's an exclusive for you, depending on when you put this out, he's actually going to tee off the charity golf competition like they do at the Masters, like the retired golfers do. He's going to tee everybody off. So I think that'll be fun for the people playing on the day.
Absolutely. And he's, of course, the director of 5 Bond films. And for me, 5 of the best.
yeah, I think that when you look at a run like that, some are better than others, but they're all enjoyable. And to keep the consistency and the quality in the filmmaking for 5 films consecutively over the entire decade of the 80s across 2 different Bonds and a third one that was actually cast in between, it's nothing short of remarkable.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
So
I
there's
think that's a testament to his skill when you look back at his editing skills on previous Bond films and other films such as Wild Geese, which is one of my personal favorites.
there's plenty. If people were to join the 007 GB club right now, there's plenty coming up.
Oh yeah, there's always going to be something coming up. I mean, one of the benefits of joining this year is that you'll get the magazine, the club magazine that we put together, which has got so many great features from other presidents, from the other clubs, our own members, members from the other clubs, and authors such as Kim Sherwood. And I think David Lobergellis really put together a good selection of editorial there for the magazine. And it's a gorgeous magazine, gorgeous print. I mean, it should be, because I started my career in the magazine business, so it wouldn't be very good if I couldn't put a magazine together well. And again, we raised another £1,000 for UNICEF from that magazine because we got advertising in it, and that sponsored the production, and then all the profit from that went to UNICEF. So it's another way that the club is celebrating Bond, celebrating its members, but also raising money. So if people were to join this year, they get that magazine. If they join next year, they won't get that magazine. They'll get the next magazine issue too. And we've got the Belfry event that's sold out. So if you join now, you can't come to that. But you never know who drops out. There is a waiting list.
Mm-hmm.
And also we will have another event in December and other little things just dotted about. So there's still plenty to be involved in. And the magazine, I would say, is worth the price of the membership alone.
Fantastic. As you say, your background was originally in magazines, so it will be good.
Yes, well, I hope so. And obviously David knows what he's doing with regards to editorial. So you put those two things together, and well, so far the magazine has been received so warmly, and I don't blame him, because it's 10 plus years since we've had a British club magazine, and that's a long time for us not to have something like that.
Absolutely. Especially based in the UK, which should be the home of Bond, really.
Absolutely, yeah. I understand it's a tough market with the UK, because you are battling some of the things that the other markets aren't. So the French and the Germans and the Swiss, they are a little freer to use content and images and whatnot. Here we've got to go by the book and not step on toes. And so all of the images in the magazine are officially licensed, and so that we're creating something that people can hold up and say, yeah, this is British, this is the British club, and it's all official. We're not going to get sued 2 weeks down the line because we just put a picture of Pierce Brosnan in and didn't ask anybody's permission. So I understand why it maybe has been quite a while since we've had a club here. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of forces, and the British market is different than all of the rest.
I think you may know I work in academic publishing, so a certain amount of my life is chasing after people saying that's not fair use. That is copyrighted.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I mean, one of the terms of the license for the images was that we're not allowed to sell the magazine. So it can be given as part of the membership, but we can't sell it.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying to people that if you do join this year, you will get the magazine. If you join next year, I can't sell you a copy of the magazine.
Oh, I see. That is interesting.
Otherwise, the image license went through the roof for a publication you're going to sell. Yeah. And whilst we may have 480 members, we're still a charitable based fan club. We don't have that kind of finance.
You want that money going to the charity, so
exactly. Yes.
I'm curious, what do you think it is that makes James Bond such a British institution? Is it just the fact that he's British? Is there something a bit beyond that?
I think when James Bond came out, the British Empire was shrinking, and we had that brief cool Britannia sort of move in the 60s and whatnot. And so it was a way of us feeling bigger than we were becoming. I think one of the main things that makes him British is his sense of humor and his sense of, well, I'll make a joke out of every single situation. Because most British people, we know, that's what we do. We will take a horrific situation and immediately have a joke for it. And Bond does all the time when we're watching him. And so I think that's appealing. That makes it British. But I think if you look back at the books and the films, it was all about British Empire. It was all about Bond went across the world being the policeman, if you will, for areas that we had interests in and that we were protecting. Now that's much less commonplace now because we've shrunk as an empire, and America is the dominant military force in the world. We are a collaborative partner in such defense endeavors, I would say, rather than a driving force. Not that we don't have some of the best military minds in the world, because we do, and our military pound for pound is pretty impressive. But I think that's where the popularity of Bond came from. It made us feel proud and yeah, you know what, we are out there in the world and we are saving the world. Or because we were at one point. We're not anymore, but we were at one point.
It's been pointed out that as British influence diminished in the real world, American influence in the Bond films, or visible influence, has rarely evaporated. So Bond in the early films works really closely with the CIA and so on, whereas in the more recent films, we see that less and less. Do you think that is a direct connection?
Yeah, I do. I think that's a fair conclusion to make from that. Yeah. Yes, that makes perfect sense.
And you mentioned earlier that there's lots of different types of Bond fans. There's fans who like the clothes, like the locations, like the watches. Could I ask, how does it grab you? How does it come into your day-to-day life?
All of it. I like the cars. I like the watches. I like the clothes. I like the girls. I like the villains. I like the locations. If I was going to say one specific area that grabbed me when I was younger, it was the locations. It was exotic locations. Living in a small Lancashire town of Accrington, which is not the most picturesque of places. The thought that you could go out to Thailand, the Bahamas, all of that, the travel, that definitely was the thing that influenced me the most and pulled me in the most, and perhaps does to this day, because on Instagram I am up in the air.phil and traveling is the thing I like to do. And that's people before I started the club, people knew me as that. They didn't know me as anything, I wasn't a president. I was just, that guy with the big hair that flies around the world a lot.
And that's something the Man of the Golden Gun does well.
Definitely, yes.
The travel aspect, it's really embedded in the film.
That's right, yeah. And I think when Dr. No's another favourite of mine, and so's Live and Let Die. And I think that's why I love Jamaica so much and why I go back so often, because you can really feel those two films because there's so many locations there. So yeah, I think overall, perhaps the locations is what grabs me more than anything. But a mix of all of it, really. I mean,
absolutely.
I have everything from Frank Foster shirts to Omega watches to Rolexes, that you've collected along the way because you want to feel that Bond lifestyle moment. Or
I did notice
fun to be a kid.
You had a very nice picture of yourself in a very beautiful cream safari suit on Hankow Road.
Yes, I did. Yes, that was actually a bargain. That I got that from. It's not as screen accurate as yours. But it's pretty close. I got that from Mango Outlet online.
Oh, really?
For £55. It's like 3 years ago. And I think that it's 100% pure linen.
Yeah.
And I think that's an absolute steal because it looks pretty close.
Oh, it looks great. You wear it well.
Yeah, I tried to do that when I travel. I tried to wear something Bond. In fact, I've got 4 new Frank Foster shirts being delivered tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
which I'll be taking to Gatherall with me. I did want to take my Man with the Golden Gun cream shirt that he wears on Scaramanga's Island, but with it being so humid and hot, I really didn't want to ruin it.
Oh no. That film was clearly filmed in the winter, from the suits he's wearing in Hong Kong and so on. What other people are wearing, it must have been the winter. The few months we have of cool over there.
That's right. But plus, you've also got to remember he had 7 or 8 ready. Extras. As he sweat, they could put a new one on. Yeah.
Does Roger Moore sweat? Who knew?
We'll never see it. We'll never see it.
Oh, well, thank you so much for joining me. Can I ask, is there anything else that you'd like to add in about the world of Bond, the club?
No, I mean, for me, this has been a fantastic 8-9 journey so far. I've made so many new friends, and I think, aside from the charity aspect, I think that's been the best part of it, making so many new friends. I mean, you and I hadn't met before, and now we have, and that's because of the club in a roundabout way. And yeah, I mean, to connect with people who share the same passion as you, who can teach you hadn't thought about, or you can teach them things, or you can discuss, or you can argue, or you can just celebrate, or you can just sit down and popcorn and watch a Bond movie. I think that has been the best part, aside from the charitable aspect. No, it's been fantastic, and not only that, I get to continue to do that over the next few years with a team of people that have been nothing short of fantastic. I can't thank the board team enough, because they're volunteers just like me, and they have put their hearts and soul into this club as well. Work extremely hard. So overall, this has been a cracking 9 months.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you somewhere at a Bond party.
Thank you very much to today's very special guest, Mr. Philip Dewhurst. Some of you subscribe to my monthly email updates, which you can subscribe by just clicking the link in the show notes. I send out my personal news, and in the last month I did actually talk about Mr. Philip Dewhurst. So some of you have some extra information on him already. If you're interested in next month's, then do click the link and subscribe to the email. And sometimes I do reach out. I select a name at random to send a postcard, a notebook, a mug, something to do with the podcast. And as I said, I've actually just sent a mug to a regular listener. He's just received it in the post. I don't think he knew it was coming. So I do send out these little surprises from time to time. But as I say, really, it's just for regular news. And yeah, again, thank you so much to Philip Dewhurst, and I hope you enjoyed that episode.